I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, but Leeds United news is back and Leeds aren't playing against Sunderland until Sunday, but there's been a little bit of a transfer news article that's come out from The Athletic that has a couple of new bits, a couple of old bits that we already knew, and opens up a potential conversation that I think is worth us having. So, I'm gonna dive into all of that today, going from a big old thing of notes. So, hope you enjoy. Also, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And if there are some weird cuts in this video, again, I got a baby sleeping next to me, so if she wakes up, obviously things are going to become a little bit chaotic. So, let's dive into it. First off, the article from Baron Cross at The Athletic, you can go and check it out if you fancy, started with a rough thing on who we want. And it talked roughly about Harry Wilson and how that sort of fell through, and how the ultimate profile that we're after, as was discussed by Robbie Evans, was a set piece taking inside of wing number 10 type. Someone that is a sort of attacking player that can play out wide, can play inside, which makes them flexible to both of our systems. Both the 4-3-3, they'll play on the right flank. 4-2-3-1, they can play as a 10. Even the 5-3-2, you could make a 5-2-1-2, making the 1 a number 10, and that gives us a little bit more of a progressive option. That is another potential route forward. The idea is that that is still the same sort of idea of what Leeds United are looking for. There's been no clear update on that, and whilst Wilson works, we're now looking for someone with a similar profile, because there is apparently no sort of evidence that Fulham are going to want to let him go. Also, I've just noticed that you can see the cricket playing there, so I'm just gonna do that, just in case I get shot in the face by TNT Sports. Then there was a little bit on specific players, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. There was a bit of a mention of the potential move for Buonanotte if he is recalled by Brighton. Obviously, Brighton might be deeply unhappy with the fact that at Chelsea he's just not playing. He's not playing week to week. In fact, I'll find out how many minutes he's gotten, because it's not a lot. But that is one that is a potential move because, of course, Leeds United showed an interest at the time. Since that point, he's not really played at Chelsea. I still have no idea who that move was for. Yeah, in total, he's played 208 minutes this season, which says that Buonanotte should probably look for another move, but we'll find out if that one happens in the end. But importantly, Leeds are looking for good characters. One of the examples that was cited was Connor Roberts, who, sure, he didn't really get in ahead of Archie Gray, but he added to the positive character of the squad. The idea of this sort of no dickhead rule is one that I am still very, very fond of. I know a lot of people will look at it and kind of go, yeah, but surely you're ruling out some really, really good players. Sure, but if they completely kill the morale of your dressing room, it's not worth it. I quite like it, but it's fine. Another name that wasn't mentioned in the article but was mentioned in other conversations was that of Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott is attacking midfielder, can play on the wing, reasonable with set pieces, who went on loan to Aston Villa. Harvey Elliott has had an even more disappointing time on loan than Facundo Buonanotte, so let's have a quick look at how many minutes that he's gotten so far. Across the Premier League and Europa League, Harvey Elliott has played 104 minutes of football, which obviously Liverpool aren't going to like. There's no guarantee for him to sort of be signed by them. Well, there might be. I don't think so. I think it's an option. But weirdly, Liverpool don't have an option to recall. So this is a move that's working for none of the three parties right now. So the sort of general thinking is there's a chance that they are able to sort of have a discussion, work out terms for him to leave Aston Villa, and then Liverpool loan him out elsewhere. The idea being Leeds might be a good place for him to land. Now, the article then goes on to discuss the players that might go, and this is where things get a bit weird, and I have the odd little disagreement with Baron Cross. Admittedly, he knows more than me, but this is a case of opinion. From an Elland Road source, he got the quote, "We do not foresee any suitors meeting player and club demands," which is fair enough. Club demands are one thing. We will demand a certain fee for certain players. For example, Piru, you can see on a set fee, pay this much for Joel Piru. Fine. Player terms are going to be an issue for other people. So, Jack Harrison, for example. I'm sure we could probably find him a club from a club perspective, but you are also looking at the player issue of he's on 90 grand a week. Who can you find that is realistically going to pay that? And that's where things get incredibly complex. Also noted that Meslier is not likely to be sold because clubs will just wait it out and sign him in the summer anyway on a free. but he did mention there's a potential for like a contract termination, like we saw with Patrick Bamford, who is playing incredibly well at Sheffield United, which makes me weirdly happy because I've always liked Pat Bamford, but for Meslier, I find a move a little bit unlikely because I don't know. I think if he's going to move before the summer, it's going to have to be something that we end up paying off his contract and then he technically moves as a free anyway, which I don't think benefits us in any way, unless we're able to cut down on what we would have paid in wages, but that's fine. However, the article goes on to note that it is believed to make no sense to remove attackers if we are currently looking for attacking players. And this is where I disagree. Because if you have a look at the attackers that we are potentially moving on, you got Jack Harrison, who, let's be honest, isn't going to play a role here anyway. And you got Joel Piroe, who is in the same boat, who doesn't quite have the profile that we need right now to be playing at the top, whether in the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, or the 5-3-2. So it becomes a case of if you're able to move a Joel Piroe or a Jack Harrison on and get in someone who can play in that system and does actually fit the tactical shape and structure and all this kind of stuff, for me that just makes sense. It shouldn't be a case of we're not going to let any attackers go because we're looking for attackers. It can be a case of we've got too many left wingers. Joel Piroe does not do that job at centre forward. Move them on, sign someone else. That makes a bit more sense to me, but let's have a discussion on that one in the comments. Let me know. There's also a little bit of chat on loan exits. Again, same logic being that the squad's already a little bit thin, so unlikely, but we do have the right to recall Largi Ramazani, which I think could also potentially be a clever move, because if I have a quick look at Largi Ramazani's FBref, he's played 8 times in the Liga for 141 minutes in total. Not enough. Personally, I would recall and then look for another move somewhere or try and reintegrate him into the squad, maybe on the right-hand side of the field. I don't know, but we'll have to see how that one goes. There's a question on if we need to sell to buy, which obviously yes, but before the 30th of June. We can do stuff in January if we think we can fund it at the end of the year, which is ultimately quite clever, and that is where our budget is going to come from. The budget is a little bit of a question mark at the minute. There was the whole 7 to 10 million quid Harry Wilson thing, but we don't know if that was also reliant on us selling before the 30th of June. So I think take it that whatever we buy, we will have to then sell, and then we won't be able to be disappointed. And the article rolls out with a sort of question around, do we have enough? And for me, Wolves are down. Wolves are gone. Burnley, we are realistically looking at as they're also probably gone, unless Scott Parker is gone very, very, very soon. And then it becomes a bit of a question of what's the gap to West Ham going to be. And a lot of people look behind us and go, West Ham relatively close, 2 results away. I think if you're looking forwards, you get a little bit more information. Because currently we're only 4 points off 11th place in the table. That's how tight things are at the minute. And like we are closer to 11th than we are 18th. It doesn't feel like it, but that's how it is. And with every position in the Premier League being worth about 2 million quid, for me, it's worth investing anyway, even if it doesn't look like we're at risk. Having a go, and then if you do end up 11th rather than 18th, you've got another 14 million quid in the bank, which at the end of the day covers the cost of a big transfer. So do something for me. I'm going to go, again, I'm going to be banging the drum for Spurtsham because we know he plays as an 8, we know he plays as a 10. He's not covering the wide areas quite so much, but I think he does a fantastic job. But I think we'll do something in January. It's just the shape of that something is where the question comes in. But yeah, that was the article off of Berren, off of The Athletic. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like if you enjoyed it, subscribe as well, become a channel member. You get videos like this one early, admittedly only a couple of hours early because I'm having to record these at 4 in the morning. Thank you. But there we go. It's a little bit early and it helps the channel quite a lot and it kind of helps her quite a lot. So, bosh. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo. You've been weirdly quiet. If you could keep that going until I go to bed, that'd be beautiful. Ta-ra.